Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of the Inside View. My name is Sana Higgin, and today we are going to be educated, on one such an important topic that is really disturbing us. Even though it's so quiet, but it's gradually affecting a lot of people that we cannot, pretend as if this virus is not happening or affecting lives. So to help me dissect this all important topic is a microbiologist in the UK who has achieved a lot for himself. So if you're with me, please invite as many people as you can, and please take a second or two to follow my page, the Inside View with Nana, or my YouTube page, the Inside View also with Nana as well. And let's all get educated. So tonight I have with me here Mr. Isaac Ampaabeng Kyeremeh. Yeah, actually Dr. Isaac Ampaabeng Kyeremeh, who is a microbiologist in the UK. Dr. Isaac Ampaabeng Kyeremeh, welcome to the Inside View.
Thank you very much, Nana. It's my pleasure.
Your doctor is
Thanks
so
for your
important
kind
to me.
words.
Your doctor is so important to me that
No problem at all.
I don't want to, because you've worked hard for it.
It's a pleasure. It's my pleasure.
How have you been today?
By the grace of God, yeah, it's been okay. Yeah, we're in summer, we can't complain. Good sunshine.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the past 2 years, doctor, we've been plagued with a lot of viruses, from the coronavirus, and then we have other permutations like Delta, Omicron, and then as if that wasn't enough, we now have monkeypox. What is monkeypox? And before you answer that question, for the sake of our viewers who've not met you before, who have not actually listened to you before, can you just tell a little bit about yourself before we delve into today's question, please?
Right. Thank you very much, Nana. And let me take this opportunity to say hi to Inside View viewers. It's a pleasure to be with you once again. I think this is about a third time running when we have had discussion like this. And it's always an opportunity to be with you. Thank you so much. My name is Isaac Ampaabeng Kyeremeh. I did my research in microbiology from University of Huddersfield. I did masters again in biomedical science from University of Bradford, UK. And currently I'm working with forensic testing services in the UK.
Wow. You've really done well for yourself.
Thank you. We try.
If any young boy is looking for a role model, we have Dr. Isaac Ampaabeng Kyeremeh. And I know if you need anybody to look up to, I know if you reach out to him, he'll be more than welcome to show you all the ropes. Isn't it, Doctor?
Right.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
Yes. So what is monkeypox? The name itself, itself is so scary. We just want to know a little bit about, monkeypox, how it came about, and also how common is monkeypox.
Right. Thank you very much, Nana. I think for a better understanding of our viewers, let's try to understand these terminologies. Like you rightly put it, it looks like viruses are becoming quite notorious in recent time. Series of talks and a lot of campaigns about viruses. What are they, and what is a pox? So let's understand at least these two terminologies as the fundamentals, then we can build on from there. Now, in fact, there are about 5 different categories of disease-causing agents, microorganisms that cause diseases, and they include bacteria, fungus, parasites, prions, and viruses, which we're going to discuss today. Now, the infectious agent we want to discuss today is the virus. And what are they? Why are they gaining so much popularity, so to speak? Why are they becoming so notorious? Now, it's because this virus itself, when it is outside its host cell, when it's outside the host, it's incapable of replicating itself. It's incapable of behaving in any way that makes it a living thing. So it's just made up of a piece of genetic material called DNA or RNA. And this RNA or DNA is covered or enclosed in a coat which is made up of protein. So a virus is just a minute, a microscopic particle which is enclosed in a coat called protein. Now, the reason or some of the reason why they are becoming quite notorious these days are that they have the ability to cause pandemic. The rate at which they can spread can be very, very fast. So we can talk about the recent pandemic, the COVID-19. Within a very short period, it had spread from Asia across Europe and across the world. So we can imagine how fast this took place. Because of that, they have become a public health concern, the rate at which they are able to spread. Not only that, they also have the capability to infect almost all life forms.
Oh, wow.
I mentioned organisms like bacteria, which can cause disease in man. We have viruses which can infect bacteria themselves. We have viruses that can infect fungus. We have viruses that can infect parasites. And we have viruses which can even infect plants. So their nature is such that they have the capability to infect all life forms. So they are of public health concern. Another reason is that because they themselves cannot survive, whenever they enter a host cell, they use the components of the host to multiply themselves. And this means by destroying the equilibrium of the host, functioning systems. So in humans, for example, they can suppress our immune system. They can cause cancer, the process known as oncogenesis, and they can also destroy the cell in which they are infecting, called apoptosis. So they can cause cell death. Because of that, they are of public health concern. Another reason is that they have the capability to change themselves quite rapidly, making them able to evade the immune surveillance of the host, or even antivirals that have been made to, protect us against them. So if you remember coronavirus times, some of the medication that we were using against it had to be modified because the virus had developed resistance against them. They modify themselves through a process called mutation, and this mutation can be quite fast. And that is why in recent years, anything about viruses is, considered quite huge. We don't want to take chances because of the lessons that we have learned from the COVID-19 pandemic. Now let's come back to pox. What is pox? I think we have heard a lot about pox. What is it? A pox is simply an eruption of the skin and mucous membrane that becomes pus-filled and forming, blister-like sores or lesions on the surface of the skin. And these lesions are sometimes referred to as pustules. In fact, the point I'm trying to make is that when you talk about pox, it's simply a rash that happens on the surface of the skin, or sometimes even internally. And most of the time, pox is caused by a virus. Most of the time, pox is caused by a virus. So we have the smallpox, I believe we've all heard about that, which is no more in existence thanks to the scientists. We also have the cowpox, we have the chickenpox, we have the swinepox, and currently the monkeypox. Now, Nana, if you talk about monkeypox, what is it? Monkeypox is a kind of pox, a kind of rash, which is caused by a virus. And the first time that this virus was discovered was in 1958. So it's been there with us for some time now, since 1958, yes. And it was discovered in Copenhagen, Denmark, in an animal research facility where monkeys had been housed, for research purposes. Scientists were working on polio vaccine, and they were using these monkeys, to do their research. And that is where there was the first outbreak. How did it come about? So the first outbreak occurred 2 months after rhesus monkeys had been, imported into Denmark from Singapore. After some time, while they were in the facility, the researchers discovered that there had been rashes or lesions on the trunk, on the face, on the tails, on the palms, and the soles of these monkeys. So they didn't understand what's happening to the monkeys, even though at the time the illness was not so fatal because the monkeys were behaving normally. But there was this rash all over, their body, on the face especially, and on the palms, on the soles. So they became alarmed. Now, none of them died at the time. So they kept on observing them. And there was a second outbreak when a second shipment again from Singapore was imported into Denmark, Copenhagen. And out of about 120 of the monkeys that were imported into Copenhagen, 11 of them had the viral infection. So that spurred the researchers on to actually critically examine the rest of the monkeys. And they found out that other monkeys within, the facility had also developed the rash that were on the others, but these rashes had been healed. So that tells us that they had the illness, but the researchers could not discover it like the way they found it. So it can be very insidious as well. So somebody can have it, but you won't be able to see it at the time.
So, if I'm getting you right, this smallpox is not from Africa, and because I think a lot of people, or like we've been made to believe that it's from Africa, and then it's being some way somehow found its way into our space now. So, I mean, based on the historical information that you're giving us, this is not something from Africa.
Yes. Nana is quite contentious. If you actually follow the history or the origin of the monkeypox, it's quite contentious to vividly state that it's from Africa, because the history is what I have given you.
Yeah.
It was first discovered in 1958 in a research facility in Denmark, specifically in Copenhagen, where researchers were working on polio vaccine. So, and as of now, I know, I mean, along the line, we're going to talk about the mode of transmission. As of now, we cannot specifically indicate the natural host of this virus. But probably the reason people may be suggestive to say that it's from Africa is because the first human to be infected with this virus was from Africa.
Okay.
Congo Republic. And this was a 9-year-old boy in the Democratic Republic of Congo who suffered, some of these rashes, and upon investigation, it was discovered that the boy was suffering from monkeypox. And this was within a region. In fact, initially they thought it was a smallpox, but at the same time, it was during the time when smallpox had been declared eradicated in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So it was quite difficult to think that it was smallpox, and later they found out that it was a monkeypox. I mean, I do not accept wholeheartedly that this virus is from Africa, because there are evidence that it's from somewhere else, especially in Asia.
Okay.
I mean, following that, there has been a number of outbreaks also in other countries in the world. For example, in 1959, there was an outbreak in Philadelphia, United States, again, where monkeys had been housed, and research was ongoing, and they found out that they were suffering from a similar condition. Contrary to what was observed in Copenhagen, Denmark, this time the outbreak among the captive monkeys in the US was a bit fatal.
Okay.
The first was characterized by acute infection. So the monkeys were severely ill, and the rash had covered the entire neck region. There was generalized swelling of the lymph nodes, which we call lymphadenopathy, and there was also severe difficulty in bleeding. So the monkeys couldn't breathe properly. And at that time, most of the infected monkeys died from what we call asphyxiation, because they couldn't breathe properly. So that was the first time the monkeypox was found to be quite fatal. The second, disease at the same time in Philadelphia was also observed that there was ulcerative lesions and swellings of the lymph node, and this led to severe bleeding. So the animals died as a result of the bleeding. So at that point, monkeypox was observed to be quite fatal. Now, like I rightly said, the first time a monkeypox was found to have infected human was in 1970. And this was in the Democratic Republic of Congo. At the time, it was called Zaire. And this was in a 9-year-old boy, which made us aware that this virus has also got the potential to infect humans and not just monkeys. So then, roughly, this is the historical perspective of the monkeypox.
Wow. So what causes monkeypox, and how is monkeypox diagnosed?
Right. So as I have indicated earlier on, monkeypox is caused by viruses.
Okay.
I would want to link this cause to what we call the mode of transmission, how it gets into, the human host and is able to do the sort of stuff that it does. So viruses are not able to live by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They need a host in which they can successfully survive. We found that they are capable of surviving in a lot of monkeys. Not only that, we have also found out that they are capable of surviving in rodents. They can survive in squirrels. So, by virtue of human activities with these animals, we are able to contract the virus. So, for instance, if we have a pet at home and then the owner gets very close to the pet and the pet has this virus, people keep all sorts of pets. Some people keep mice, some keep squirrels, some keep dogs, and so on and so forth. And these are all animals that can keep this virus within them. So if you go closer to them, the tendency for you to get infected is very, very high. The risk is quite high. Not only that, so because they can be transferred from an animal to humans, we say that they have a zoonotic risk. That is, they can infect animals and the animals can pass them on to human beings. So that is zoonosis that can happen. And when we humans also get it, we can pass it on to our fellow human beings by very, very close, prolonged contact. We can infect surfaces like, the things that we use. If we happen to have the lesions and the lesions come out and, drop on these surfaces, we are likely to infect others who touch those surfaces. They can also, be transmitted through respiratory droplets. So when we have droplets from, the air we breathe out, or from, saliva that comes out of the mouth and that are infected with the virus, these viruses can get into other people and they can also contract the illness.
Wow. So
Yes, Nana.
okay. We saw how coronavirus. We saw how Delta and Omicron
Yes.
killed a lot of people. How dangerous is this virus? Because it looks like there isn't much publicity on monkeypox. How dangerous is this particular virus?
Right. So, Nana, for some reason, and for the purposes of clarity, we have to establish the truth of the matter that monkeypox is not as dangerous as other viral, diseases. Typically, the smallpox, which have been eradicated from the surface of the earth. It is not as dangerous as the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
But one important thing that we must take note is that viruses can mutate. Viruses can change their nature. So because of that, their virulence, their propensity to become more dangerous can change at any time. So any virus is a potential danger to humanity.
Mm.
The disease itself is self-limiting. And what that means is that the body can fight it and it goes away. So it is not as dangerous and as killing as all the viral diseases that we have had in recent years.
Mm.
But one thing is that the rash is quite nasty. Even though it's self-limiting, you look at how the rash occurs on people's faces, how it occurs on the palms, how it occurs on the the cervical region, and so on and so forth. That is quite nasty. And not only that, because it's a disease, ability to fight depends on the immunity of the individual, because it also has the capability to suppress the immune system. So let's imagine somebody whose immune system is already low and has been infected by this virus, then it's going to suppress the already low immunity, and that can result in a lot of complications. So a lot of complications can occur in monkeypox disease. For example, there can be serious fatigue, where individuals with the illness can have very, very low amount of energy, and that can create problems. There can also be pneumonia. All are, secondary infections as a result of the monkeypox. There can be sepsis, which is, the poisoning of the blood by the activity that they undertake within the body. There can be sepsis, and we know how dangerous sepsis is to the body. So all these make the virus quite dangerous, even though the disease that they cause in an individual is self-limiting. It depends on how we're able to fight it.
Wow. So what are the signs and symptoms?
Right.
Of monkeypox?
So now, one of the very, very important symptoms of this virus is that it causes it causes fever. It causes severe headache. It causes back pains. And one of the distinguishing feature, in fact, from other viruses that can also cause rash, like the smallpox, like the cowpox, and so on, is that it causes swellings within the lymph nodes. So the lymph nodes become quite swollen, and that helps scientists, to actually distinguish it from all the rashes that can be caused by viruses.
Wow. Wow. So, I mean, I'm so surprised.
Yeah.
We've kind of, I wouldn't say trivialize it, because, just like you said, if someone's immune system is not too great,
Yeah.
That person can still be
At a greater risk. Yes.
at a greater risk. Wow. Wow. So now you've talked about, the signs and symptoms, and also the mode of transmission. So how long does the monkeypox last when someone actually gets infected? How long does it last?
So now I've already established the fact that it's self-limiting. We expect that the monkeypox should last within 5 to 14 days.
5 to 14 days, okay.
Yes, 5 to 14 days. A normal monkeypox disease should start, clearing from the individual, and the individual must start regaining some form of normalcy.
Okay.
If conditions do not improve after this period, at most within 21 days, we expect the individual to, be regaining, not normal health status. Otherwise, it becomes concerning.
Okay, so if one is infected, with monkeypox, virus, how do they take care of themselves? If one, is been affected, how do they take care of themselves?
Yes, so like all illnesses, then I think it's very important that we rest. When you have the illness, it's very important you take enough rest, you have enough fluids, and because it's quite contagious, you will have to isolate. in the UK, the government has, stated quite clearly that anybody who has the monkeypox should self-isolate and, ring up for directives. So it's very important that we self-isolate, because as long as we pass the virus from one individual to another, the risk of mutation becomes greater. We need a lot of fluids too. We need a lot of hygiene, to help not to, improve the multiplicity of the viral load.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so apart from isolation, what can we also do to prevent monkeypox from spreading? Apart from, like isolation, washing of hands?
Yes.
What
So,
other measures can we put in place?
Right. So just like we have already indicated that it can also, spread through droplet infection, masking is another very good way of, trying to stop spreading it. We must try as much as possible. I mean, if it is possible, we must try and avoid overcrowding. It's very, very, very important. Once we are overcrowded and we are subjected to prolonged, contact with the individual who has the virus, we increase the risk of getting the virus. We have also made mention of the fact that these viruses can be found in animals. So there must be restriction on animal trade, getting animals from one country into another, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's quite important that we make mention of the fact that the first outbreak that occurred in the US in 1959 occurred as a result of an importation of a rodent. In fact, it was a dormice from Ghana. It was an importation of a dormice, a kind of, mice from Ghana, and also an importation of what was this animal? A pouched mice from Gambia, and the owner imported these from Africa, took them to the US, and at the same time was keeping prairie dogs. So the dogs were infected from these mice that had been taken from Africa. So, I mean, if we are not able to, restrict the travel of animals or scrutinize animals that are moved from one country into another, then we keep on spreading, the illness. Again, as long as we know that we have contracted the illness, we must try as much as possible to avoid travels. Because presently in the UK, I think all the cases that we have discovered, all the cases that have been confirmed are cases that have linked to travels. People have, traveled from elsewhere and have introduced it into the UK. So it's all about, traveling and importing this and going there, which is quite, difficult to control. But we should be able to have mechanism in place where we'll be able to scrutinize some of these things. That would help the spread.
Wow. As parents, we get, like a bit disturbed when we see rashes on our children's, skin. So we just want to find out, what is the difference between monkeypox and chickenpox? Because, like it's all got these, like swelling, whatever.
Rash, yeah.
Yes. Right. Yes, rash, like on the skin. So what is the difference between the two so that we don't get mixed up?
Yes. So now it's quite difficult that as a lay person, we will be able to differentiate the monkeypox from the rest of the poxes, so to speak, is quite difficult. We need the expertise of laboratory workers to do that for us. But as I indicated earlier on, one of the distinguishing feature of the monkeypox, which most other pox do not have, is the swelling of the lymph nodes. But just looking at the lesions on the surface of the skin, just looking at the rash that occurs, is quite difficult to, as a layperson, to distinguish between the two, in that both are all caused by viruses. But I mean, from the technical point of view, the monkeypox is caused by a different, class of virus, which we call the orthopox virus, whilst the chickenpox is caused by a group of virus called Varicella zoster virus. They are the viruses which also cause shingles. Okay, they cause the shingles. Yeah, I know these are quite difficult terminologies, but more importantly, what I want to say is that even though both of them all present as rashes on the surface of the skin, they are caused by different class of viruses. But to the lay person, it's quite difficult to distinguish. One other distinguishing feature is that the chickenpox is quite common, very, very contagious, whereas the monkeypox is quite rare and not as contagious as the chickenpox.
Okay.
The monkeypox illness is usually quite mild, with initial symptoms being fever, headache, muscle ache, chills, and exhaustions. But that of chickenpox is quite severe. It can even put the person down. The person can be bedridden for some time.
Yeah.
Now, we also know that from the incubation period, that the time the virus gets onto the individual and the onset of symptoms is about 14 days before the symptoms appear. And it may take up to 16 days, according to the US Center for Disease Control. But that of the chickenpox is quite different. And the rashes spread all over the body for the chickenpox. And the rashes are such that they don't occur at the same time and they are not uniform. But that of monkeypox, they occur at the same time and they are uniform. First, they are not, they are uniform. So first they occur as a flat rash, then the rash begins to protrude on the surface of the skin. Then that protruding begins to be filled with clear fluid. Later on, this fluid begins to turn yellowish. And then after a while, it begins to dry up and then fall off in the form of flakes from the surface of the body, leaving some scar over there. So if you look at the developmental stages of the rash, it's also indicative of a difference between the chickenpox and the monkeypox.
So, Dr. Ampaabeng, is the monkeypox itchy like the chickenpox? Because you realize that those with chickenpox, they tend to itch or scratch their skin quite a lot as compared to I don't know much about the monkeypox, so I just want to find out whether the monkeypox is as itchy as the chickenpox.
That is very good. Yeah, that's a good question. So yes, that's also another one distinguishing feature. Not as itchy as that, even though it depends on how the individual is reacting to the rash, but on most occasions it has not been as itchy as that of the chickenpox, and not as painful as that of the chickenpox.
Okay, so for the monkeypox, can people use, there's a white lotion called, is it the calamine lotion or something that,
Calamine lotion.
yes, it's got, just like the chickenpox, can people, use that on themselves, or, you just have to wait for the white fluid to dry up and fall off and just wait for the skin to heal?
Yes. One very important thing that we need to know about the calamine lotion is that it's not to cure the disease. It is just to minimize the itchiness.
Okay.
So if you apply calamine lotion to the surface of the skin, you are only trying to, sort of minimize how itchy it is. So it is not very advisable that, I mean, there are all sorts of things that people put, all sorts of topical application that people put on the surface of rash.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on how itchy it is, yes, you can, but that is not curative. That is not going to cure the disease from within, the body. It's just to help, with the itchiness.
Wow. So in terms of keeping tidy or clean, how should people keep themselves clean? Because for the coronavirus, for instance, we're
Yes.
just isolating, not necessarily changing sheets and stuff like that. But I think with my experience with the chickenpox, we will have to be just changing bed linens and stuff like that just to prevent it from spreading. Is it the same also for monkeypox?
Exactly so, Nana. Very, very exactly so. So, I mean, I mentioned earlier on that the virus can be isolated. In fact, we can take it out of the lesions that come, on the surface of the skin. So any of the fluid that drops on any part of, the bed linens, surfaces that one touches, and so on and so forth, becomes contagious. Anybody who touches there can also get it. So as frequently as possible, we must change our bed linens. We must try and clean the body quite often. We must try to restrain from touching surfaces, especially if we are there with kids, because kids' immune system are not as strong, and monkeypox among kids can be quite dangerous. So it's very important that we try to limit the rate at which we touch surfaces, and we try as much as possible to keep our surroundings clean by changing our linens, our whatever we wear, washing them properly with soap, and properly washing them properly. Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, if I'm getting you correctly, it means anybody taking care of somebody who's been infected with monkeypox would have to properly cover themselves if they are
Yeah.
actually entering into their rooms, to change, the bed linen and stuff like that. They'd have to, properly, cover themselves, like in order not to be infected by the viruses or the virus from the infected person. I mean, like if I'm getting you right.
Yes, that's very, very true. And in fact, healthcare workers are at greater risk because they are very close to the patient, and they're touching the patient, because you cannot take care of a patient without touching the patient.
Yeah.
So it's very important that they use PPEs, well
PPE. Okay.
protected, their gloves, their aprons, their masks. All these will have to be in place. It's very, very important we protect ourselves when we come in contact with somebody who has the virus. So yes, and it also means the same as we as parents at home. When we get the virus, we must try as much as possible to distance ourselves from those that we live in the house with, our spouse, our children, and our co-tenants, because it's quite contagious and they can easily get that.
Wow. I mean, you just made mention that monkeypox in children is very, very dangerous or fatal.
Yes.
How, I mean, can you just explain that? Because I think that's where a lot of parents are, you know, expressing concern on.
Yeah. Generally, um, the immune system of children are quite low. I mean,
Mhm.
so because viruses have the propensity to reduce, or suppress immune system,
Mhm.
if they get into children whose immune system are already not as strong, then the the likelihood of the disease being severe in them is quite high. So it's very important that around this time where there is an outbreak the world over,
Mhm.
kids are properly looked after, both in schools. So this means that teachers will have to take very good care of the children. We parents, we need to be very careful the way we take kids out and so on and so forth. Yes. So, for adults, because of what we do, what we eat, and um, how our immune system is, we are able to contain some of these things. We are able to handle it better, in much better way than what the kids would normally do. So yes.
Wow. Do you know what? I'm so keen because when the coronavirus actually broke out, it was quite a reversal. We're more concerned about we the adults and the aged because they said, oh, the kids have got much more, um, better resistance, to the
Yes.
virus. But monkeypox is quite fatal in children.
Yes.
If children with
It could be. It
low
could be.
low
Yeah.
immune system. Okay,
Yes.
okay, that's fine. That's fine.
So
So,
the research that was done around the time that we had the COVID-19 pandemic
mhm,
suggested that kids were not at risk as
risk.
adults. I
Mhm.
mean, it's all because of the way viruses behave. One thing we should understand is that viruses don't just infect any cells. They have specific cells that they can infect. So, depending upon the nature of the virus, it would be more contagious among certain group of people than others. Also, because viruses do not have the same capability to withstand immune system, the rate at which they will be able to cause problems, health problems among a certain group of people may be different from other groups. So these are all dynamics that we must consider when we're talking about how dangerous a particular group of virus or infectious agent is when we are studying the way they behave in individuals. Now, one thing that probably I need to add to this is that unfortunately, it has been found that these viruses can be passed from the mother to the unborn child. So they can transmit through the placenta over to the unborn child. So we can have
Really?
congenital monkeypox. Yes. So one of the studies that was conducted has shown that
Oh,
we can have congenital monkeypox, meaning it can be transmitted from the mother who already has it onto the fetus.
so when this is quite alarming now because
Yes,
then, I mean, how safe is the unborn baby?
exactly so. So that's why we don't have to just take it that, oh, these viruses are not dangerous. They are self-limiting. It depends on who they are infecting, what the source is, and who they are going into.
Wow, wow. I think a lot of people care less about this monkeypox because they think, okay, we've been, vaccinated twice or three times, so we've got much immune, system to this new viruses that are just springing forth.
Yes.
How true is this?
No, that is not true at all, because every vaccine has a target. So even though we have been immunized, most of us have been immunized against COVID-19,
Yeah.
it does not necessarily mean that we are immune against monkeypox, not at all, because how the vaccine had been developed to target COVID-19 virus is not the same as the monkeypox. But one very important thing is that all those who were immune against smallpox, because smallpox and monkeypox are very similar, caused by the same group of bacteria. Don't let us mix it with chickenpox, okay? Smallpox has been eradicated from the world since 1980. In fact, the last case of smallpox in human was as far back as in 1977. And in 1980, it was WHO declared it as completely eradicated from the world. But all those who were vaccinated against the smallpox, you remember those days, we had immunization programs in schools, and they will call school children, and then we'll be injecting them with stuff. Yeah. I mean, some of these were smallpox, were against smallpox. Yeah.
Okay.
It has been established that, the immunity that was generated as a result of immunization against smallpox is potent against the monkeypox as well.
Okay.
But the problem is that how long this immunity is in individuals is what we do not know. But we are meant to have a lifelong immunity. So those who are at greater risk at the moment are those who have not been immunized at all, because immunization stopped in almost all countries in the world when the smallpox was declared eradicated. So because of that, generations that came after that have not been immunized against smallpox, and probably do not have that level of immunity that those who have been vaccinated against smallpox have.
So do you think there's any chance of this younger generation being vaccinated? I mean,
I think it is, yeah, because some countries are now planning to reintroduce the smallpox immunization. I think a lot of who has reported on their website that a lot of European countries have agreed to, resume the immunization because of some of these things happening. And we know that vaccine works against the monkeypox. So I think very soon most countries will follow suit, and then we'll start to immunize. But remember that even though it has been eradicated, smallpox has been eradicated, a portion of the vaccine has been stored, a portion have been kept, and there is still ongoing research around that. Just so you know, there are very bad people around, terrorists around, who can just reintroduce the virus by some means, So when that happens, then we can have that immunization, because as for that, it is very, very fatal. Smallpox is very, very fatal, and we don't want to have it back. So scientists have not completely done away with the vaccine. They have been stored, and even further research is currently ongoing, just in case it becomes reintroduced.
Wow! So there's no there's no cause for alarm, in terms of vaccination. If it becomes very, very like
If
necessary,
it becomes
as
very
compared to
important, yes,
COVID-19.
it becomes very necessary that a lot of people are catching it, and yes, there is the probability that most countries will reintroduce vaccination. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what scientists do best when there is a problem like that. I mean, we need to do something. Sometimes it will be met with a lot of resistance from anti-vax, but with education and with some kind of political influence, we will be able to push it through. Look at what happened with COVID. There were a lot of resistance, a lot of public debates. We don't want this, but Nana, I tell you now that the vaccine has helped. There is no
It
two
has.
ways
It
about
has.
that.
It
The
has.
vaccine has really helped. So monkeypox, if it becomes so much of a problem, yes, there will be a way out. But education has even already started. Typical example is what you're doing now, so that people become aware that there is something like this lurking somewhere. So we have to be quite vigilant. And as we're speaking now, a lot of countries have, started restricting importation of animals into their countries. They've started, quarantining some of these. They've started scrutinizing what animals are being introduced into their country, and all these would help, because you can't joke with a virus. It
Wow.
can cause a lot of harm.
Wow. I mean, also soon we are gradually, coming to the end of our
Right.
interview. But I think I've just got one question to ask, and then we'll just read the comments. And when should one see a healthcare provider? At what point should people rush to A&E and to be seen by a doctor or maybe any healthcare provider?
Right. So Nana, it will all depend on how unbearable the situation is. Even though monkeypox is self-limiting, it can be quite disturbing in some individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it comes with secondary infections. It comes with bronchopneumonia. It comes with sepsis. It comes with eye infections. And it can even lead to, blurred vision and blindness.
Whoa.
Yes. So if it affects the cornea, the surface of the eyes, it causes blurriness in vision. And if we are not lucky, it can cause loss of vision. So depending on how uncomfortable the individual feels or how unbearable the symptoms are, look at the headache, look at the lymphedema, the edema of the face, and so on and so forth. If it becomes quite unbearable, you need to quickly, seek medical attention.
Okay.
And the way you seek medical attention, I believe, if you are in the UK, will depend on your trust. I think recently I read from um, St. George's Teaching Hospital, St. George's University Teaching Hospital website, that if anybody was concerned that he or she had monkeypox, you should quickly go to A&E. So they have made it quite clear on their website, and this is quite recent, that they should go to A&E.
Mm-hmm.
They shouldn't join the queue, but quickly move to the front of the triage queue.
Yeah.
And tell the nurses what they have seen, and they have made provision for that. So they'll be taken to a place and be treated. So we must find out from our trust the guidelines as to how to handle some of these things. But I would say that if you are concerned with the symptoms that you are going through, if they are so unbearable for you, then seek immediate medical attention by ringing, your trust. If you are in the UK, you ring the 111 and then find out what kind of help that they can provide.
Wow. Wow. Dr. Isaac Ampaabeng Kyeremeh, we are so grateful for your time and for this education they've actually given us tonight. But before you leave us, we've got a lot of amazing comments that I would want us to read. I've got one from Sunshine Hiba Nyamedova. She goes, wow, this is serious than I thought. And I've got one from Senior Kweku Kobia Jr. He also goes, unfortunately, it has been found that this virus can be passed from the mother to the unborn child through the placenta. Cognital, yes. Yeah, monkeypox. The virus is very dangerous. Thanks, Kweku, and thanks, Sunshine. And I've got another one from Kweku as well. She goes, monkeypox in children is very serious or severe, since the immune system of children are mostly weak. It is important to maintain the extra care and support must be given to kids in these times. Thank you so much. And I've got one from Osas Edu. She also goes, very well said and summarized, clear explanation. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And I've got one from Alex Kofi Higgin. He also goes, Dr. Ike, is it true that someone who has already contracted chickenpox is immune from monkeypox infection? Cheers. I think that one is the question. So if you can...
All right. So we cannot say that for chickenpox, but we know that people who have been immunized from smallpox have the immunity against monkeypox, but not chickenpox, because like I indicated earlier on, these are caused by different viruses. Chickenpox is caused by the varicella zoster virus, which also causes shingles. But monkeypox is caused by orthopox. So these are different viruses, and their mechanism of infecting the host is quite different. It's quite different. So there is no established fact, in fact, scientific evidence to suggest that once you have chickenpox, you cannot have monkeypox. But if you have been immune against smallpox, then you stand a high chance of having an immunity against monkeypox.
Monkeypox. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that clarification. You can have more because, and I've got one from Faustina Ampaabeng Kyeremeh. Doing great. I think that, and also doing great, doctor. And that's from, and I've got one from Kwame Brobe. And he also goes, is there a direct correlation between the disease and those in the same sex relationship? Is there a direct correlation between the disease and those in the same sex relationship?
That is, that's quite interesting. Do you know why? So I'll give you some statistics. I wanted to avoid the stats because I didn't want to confuse our viewers. But let me try to give a bit of statistics so that we can all think through whether the disease is from Africa or whether people who have same sex are at a greater risk.
Okay.
The World Health Organization published latest publication about monkeypox is on the 17th of June, 2022. Now they have indicated that they received the first report on the 1st of January, 2022. That's this year. And 42 member states of the World Health Organization have reported that they have cases. And these 42 cases, 42 member states have been grouped into 5 main zones or regions. And they include the Americas, they include Africa, Europe, Eastern Mediterranean, and the Western Pacific. So all these have, reported to WHO that they have found cases of monkeypox. As of 15th June, a total of 2,103 cases have been reported to the World Health Organization. And majority of the cases, representing 98%, that was reported to WHO. Just a minute, Nana.
Okay, that's fine. Take your time. Because we just want to get it right.
Yeah. So about So the 98% of the cases had been reported just last month. Now, out of these, 84% of the cases, representing a number of 1,700, were from Europe. That's first point.
Okay.
So out of the 2,103, 1,773 cases had been reported from only the European region. Confirmed cases have also been reported from the Africa, and this represented 3%, and the number was only 64. So 3% cases reported from Africa, and the number being 64 out of the 2,103. Now, out of the 103, about 245, which represent 12%, had been reported from the Americas. 14, representing 1%, have been reported from the Eastern Mediterranean, and 1% also from the Western Pacific region of WHO membership. Of these, about 468 confirmed cases had been represented or have been reported from males, and this represents about 99%. And this was mostly from males who had declared that they were gays.
Okay.
So I don't want to conclude on anything, but these are statistics that WHO has presented to the world. So these are empirical evidence. So as to whether the disease is coming from Africa, whether the disease is quite predominant among same-sex, partners, we can view that from the statistics that we have obtained from the WHO's website. So that is it. In Ghana we say asemsebe, isn't it? Yeah, exactly so. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got one from Samuel Ninsin. He goes, thanks both of you. I've learned a lot. And I've got one from Claire Dancer all the way from America. She goes, good evening to you. And then may God bless us abundantly. And I think, Elaine, there are more. Okay, we finished. Okay, and I've got one from Huguette, Nanajwa Boateng. She goes, well done, Dr. Ampaabeng Kyeremeh.
Thank you.
So
I think that one of the things that maybe we need to talk about is how we can, sort of diagnose this illness. In fact, it's not something that it's a viral disease, so it's not something that you can easily diagnose. It has to be in a laboratory with the capability to do that. And at the moment, it's been recommended that PCR is the best way to diagnose the illness. So samples are obtained from, the exudates of the lesions, from the rashes. Samples are taken from there. According to national guidelines, these are transmitted to laboratory that has the capability to do so, and PCR is conducted on it. And if it is a monkeypox virus, then we'll be able to, discover that this is actually a monkeypox virus. So we use PCR, just like, we were doing for COVID. So it's not something that you can easily diagnose. It has to be from the laboratory.
I think what people are worried about is if we have to introduce the mask and everything back again because of how easy or how quick this virus can be, transmitted. So do you think there will come a time where maybe we would have to go back to the mask wearing and all these things that we wear?
Yes. Now, if it gets to that point, public health control is highly stratified. It depends on, the situation. So at the moment, the situation is not so pressing to introduce, as it were, a compulsory use of the masks. But individually, if you feel unsafe and if you think that the use of the mask, or if you think that your immune system is not that strong, probably because of some medication that you are on or your underlying conditions, nothing, absolutely nothing stops you from continuing using the mask, because nobody knows who you come into contact with when you go out. As the moment you leave the door of your house, you are no more in control of what is happening around you. So if you want to use the mask, yes, you can. But at the moment, it hasn't become a very serious public health issue that recommends, compulsory enforcement of the use of the enforcement of the use of the masks.
Wow. Wow, that's not, Doctor. We are so grateful to you for your time and also for sharing us, the knowledge on monkeypox. I think we've learned a lot. We've been made aware on what to do and what not to do. I mean, I'll say the do's and don'ts. And also, if you're out there, monkeypox is contagious, just like any other virus. So we should be vigilant, and also we should be, careful the way we take care of ourselves, and also we should be also concerned about the way we make sure our children are also, kept in a safer environment, just to make sure that they don't contract anything. And if there should be anything in the house, we've been educated tonight that they should be isolated. And also, if we are to look after them, we should make sure we have our PPEs on, and we should be made aware that monkeypox is real. And even though it's not as dangerous as COVID-19 or as chickenpox, it can be fatal as well. So we shouldn't lose sight of this monkeypox that is still affecting people. So thank you so much for your company, and to be educated or to get knowledge is to get power. So tonight, I believe we've all been be empowered. We've all been educated, and we've all been enlightened on this, deadly disease. I would say deadly because it can still, take life. So
yeah,
life,
potentially. Yes. At the moment, who has reported only one death? There has been only one death, and I mean, you don't want to lose that. You don't want anybody to die. So, yeah, it's potentially deadly. it's a viral infection, so it's potentially deadly.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, thank you so much for that input as well.
Thank you, Nana.
So,
Thank you too for
for
inviting me
anybody
and
that's
having me on the program.
yes, I mean, thank you for the input. Anybody that's commented, anybody that has stayed with us till now, you know, the Inside View family, we're so appreciative of you, of your continual support. God richly bless you, and I wish everybody a blessed week. And let's continue to enjoy the sunshine, which we hardly enjoy. So, thanks for your company and thanks for watching. See you soon.